Can you make money breeding fish? Absolutely. Check it out how. Welcome back to SandersAquatics. So tonight, we're going to talk about making money breeding fish. What's the reality of it? Can you make money breeding fish? Of course you can. Are you ever going to quit your job? Probably not. So here's the reality of it. And let's break it down and kind of put some real life numbers to it. We're going to round off and kind of put some more detail to it, but we're going to, and a lot of this comes down to what kind of fish you want to breed and how many you can produce. There's so many different things that go into this that it's hard to really tell you. Can you produce 100 guppies a month? Of course you can, but you're going to get $1 a piece. Let's use, for instance, let's say you're making $60,000 a year. So we're going to keep easy numbers here. So 60,000 is going to be our target number. How do you get there? So we're going to use like our Turkanas. We breed Turkana Jewels. I can breed thousands and thousands and thousands of Turkana Jewels, as many as you want. I've got it mastered. But you can't move that many. You can't sell that many. You know, I get pretty good money for them, $5 a piece. But unfortunately, and this is no fault to the pet stores, but like when I take them to a pet store and they've got them out there and they put them in a tank that's not the environment that really shows them, they're not going to move as fast. They're going to sell 20 a month, maybe. And that's assuming that they can get in there and they can start coloring up a little bit and actually showing off. You put them in a tank that's not a species only tank, that's not either really open or really heavily decorated, they're going to color down. They just do it. It's part of what they do. You can't take them to a swap meet and try to sell them because they don't show their colors. But I can do that. But to breed that and to do that on a consistent basis, you know, when I do it, they'll put out 50 babies. So when they breed and they put out 50 babies and you're getting $5 a baby, once they grow up and once they're at pet store level, the space that you need to create this $250 a month that you're making it's tricky. So I have 1, 2, 3, and I really need a 4th Turkana breeding tank just to go through and create $250 a month. And we're not counting in food and electric and all this stuff. So at that point, okay, I can do that. I can make $250 a month. That's awesome. I got 4 tanks running. So now we have 4 tanks that are running and we're making $250 a month. But I can't do this over and over and over and over and over and over again. Eventually you just saturate the market. But so you have to have multiple species that you're breeding. Multiple different kinds, multiple different colors. And it's the same thing as like our angels. So I got a whole bunch of angels here that I'm going through and I'm waiting on the breed. And pardon my mess down here. I'm still waiting on my electrician to go through and set everything up here for me so that I can get all my tanks finalized. But like I've got a bunch of different species of angels and different colors of angels that I'm going to go through and breed. But still the same thing. You're going to get roughly 50 babies out of a batch. By the time it's all said and done, they're growed out and you're cold, you've done everything you need to do. These fish are going to go through and it's probably going to be about the same. I'm probably going to get $5 a fish. But it's still the same setup. For me to do that, I need the tank for the parents and I need somewhere to grow the babies out. So, but they're going to produce babies once a month. It's a little less than that, but we're rounding off here. So by the time I do that and I have these guys at a point that they're going to grow out, and this is the other thing that you have to go through and think about is how long is it going to take for you to mature these fish out? Rainbow fish, they take forever. They're 8 months. But how many can you put in a tank? How many can grow out together? You're going to need Same thing, probably 4 tanks for every fish for that kind of fish that you're breeding. It takes a long time to grow these guys out. You're going to be 3 to 6 months, depending on how big you want to sell them. So that's great. Now we have 2 different species. We're making $500 a month, but you're up to 8 tanks. You can always do something like guppies that'll produce in the same tank, or swords, or platies, or something that you can heavily decorate and create a whole bunch. But there's a reason that you don't get as much for these fish. And once again, you're going to end up saturating your market. And some of the higher end swords and things like that, they're a little tougher to breed, and you got to go through and pay attention to what you're doing. But you can use something like this. Like this tank here is my super red bristlenose breeding tank. I've got, I don't know how many babies in there, probably 50 or 100, something along those lines. There's a lot of babies in there. That's one tank. I should really have these guys pulled out and separated, which is probably going to be in my future here, because I have added on a whole lot of grow out tanks. But I've added on grow out tanks knowing what I'm getting into. I know that my goal is to try to continue to grow and continue to try to move. But I've adopted 8 different species of angels that I'm going to go through and I'm going to try to breed. At that point right there, that's 40 tanks alone that I'm going to have. It's a lot of tanks. And no, it's not even 40. It's 30. Yeah, okay. But regardless, that's a whole bunch of tanks. You know, and then you count in your Turkanas, and then you count, I probably need 1 tank to breed in on here, and then another one to take the babies out and let them grow out in. That would be my better bet. But the tanks that you need for grow outs are much, much larger tanks, so that these guys can grow out and they can get to where they need. You really need you like a 4-foot tank. Like this tank here has got fish in there, but this one here, it's not all the way set up. Like I said, I'm still waiting on my electrician. But this, I have this tank specifically for growing out angels, so that I can put them in there and I can grow them out. But if I grow out 50 angels in there and I get them to dime size or nickel size, that's that tank. That's that entire batch of babies that I had. It's cool, but now I need 8 more of these to go through and really do this to make it worth my while. So to really get into it and answer the question, it comes down to what kind of species are you breeding? What is it you're really trying to achieve? But to get to $60,000 a year, you need to do $5,000 a month. You're talking that your average fish is going to be about what we're talking about. And that's assuming that you're breeding something that is a higher quality fish, a higher quality something like, we've got like Filipino blue angels. They don't really start showing their colors till they get a lot bigger. You're going to have to grow them out a little bit better for them to go through and sell and get the reaction that you're hoping to get out of these. It's going to take a while. But you figure I need four tanks just to create $250. That's a lot of tanks. So to create $1,000, you need that times 4. So you need 16 tanks just to create $1,000. And that's assuming that you don't saturate your market, that you're not going through and doing that. So now you're at that and you're trying to get to $5,000 a month. You're running like 70 tanks. Probably more than that. I'm not doing exact math in my head, and you need something that's going to produce. It's going to produce on a regular basis. It's going to stay in high demand, and somebody's going to pay you what you're hoping to get out of it. But you can't do just one species. It's just never going to work. If you go through and you try to breed, like I've got zebra plecos down here that I'm waiting to get a little bit bigger. Not zebra plecos, I'm sorry, tiger plecos down here that I'm waiting to get a little bit bigger before I go through and breed them. But they don't make as many babies. They're not going to go through and produce what I need. There are other things that you can do to help increase what you're getting. Like you can grow live plants and you can propagate live plants, and you could do snails, and you could do seeded sponge filters, things along those lines that you can do in the same tank to help go through and do what you're doing. But in the reality of it, you have to have a goal. You have to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. So at the end of the day, can you make money breeding fish? Absolutely. Are you going to be able to ever quit your job breeding fish? Maybe. Depends on your grow out room, the diligence that you have, what you're doing. Can you take your passion and actually turn it into a job? Because that's what it turns into. You're taking your passion, something you love, and actually taking it and putting a business mindset to it. But just to get to that point and to cover $60,000 a year, you've got 75 tanks running that you're producing fish that need to produce on a monthly basis, that are putting out 50 fish that you're getting $5 a piece for. But you have to sit down and break down the algorithm. What's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? Man, I just want to cover my cost. Okay, cool. Cover your cost. Figure out what your costs are and go through and breed that and set that up so that it's there and do that. But you also have to have enough places to sell these fish and get these fish out there. There's always your local mom and pop shops, but the more I've done this, the more I hear people don't have local mom and pop shops. You can always sell at swap meets, but swap meets are only going to be twice a year. You're going to see them for each different community is they're only going to have them twice a year. So you're only going to have so many opportunities, and you're only going to be able to sell so much there where you're at. There's always your aqua bids and your eBays and all that stuff where you can go there and you can sell them, but you're only going to move so many. So you have to step back and realize how many you're going to be able to sell, what you're going to be able to do, and what is a real number. Don't tell yourself you're going to do one thing and then not be able to get there. I got fooled a little bit on this when I first started into this, and I told myself, I can sell as many of these as I absolutely want to. That's a lie. Don't lie to yourself. Don't trick yourself. Stop and pay attention to this video, because I promise it's not that easy. But there's so many different species that you can breed. Like we've got, I don't remember how many different species we're breeding down here, but I got labs breeding and peacocks breeding and bristlenoses breeding and turcanas breeding. I don't even know what else. I have like 8 different species that are breeding, but there are certain species you can breed, but usually the ones that you can breed easily and you don't need as much tank space, you're going to get a lower dollar for, which is you're going to have to create a wider area to go through and do this. You're going to have more and more and more different kinds of these species to go through and do this. So the reality, though, is it doable? Absolutely. But you need to know what you're getting into, set yourself a goal, put it in place, do what you're doing. I have a goal. I know what my goal is. I have an idea on how I'm going to achieve it, but this is a very, very sharp learning curve. You go through and you breed one species and it takes you 4, 5, 6 months to go through and do it. You lost a half a year learning and creating curves that you didn't know were there. It doesn't take long to lose a whole lot of time. Like my turcanas, I was very heavy set that they were going to carry a whole lot more weight than what they're carrying. They're gorgeous fish, absolutely showstoppers. And that's a decent price for them. There's only so much room out there for them. There's only so many people out there that want them. There's only so many people that are going to display them to the point that they're going to move like you want them to. And even at that point, when they start moving like you want them to, eventually you're going to saturate the market. There's so many people that want these fish. So if I get them in a pet store and they set them up exactly like they're supposed to be, and they're like, man, these are showstoppers over here, and they just start flying off the shelf, boom, and you're selling 200 of them a month. Eventually, 4, 5, 6 months down the line into this, you've saturated the market, and those sales will slow way down, and then you're back to what you would actually expect to get. So if you're going to do it, go through and do it. Don't hesitate. Don't do it. Put yourself a plan in place and just do it. But know what you're doing, know what you're getting into, and know what the reality of it is. I've got a whole lot of money invested down here. We've got a big, humongous fish room where we've got We're at roughly 100 tanks right now. To do the math on what I just told you on what your reality is coming out of that. It's not easy. You have to keep your head down. Do what you got to do. Stay focused. It's easy to lose focus, especially if you're working a full-time job at the same time. Makes it tricky. But if you're doing it just for fun, have fun with it. If you're trying to make a little bit of money, make a little bit of money, but have a goal, have a plan. But at the end of the day, it is absolutely able to be done. You just need to know what you're getting into. But if you've got any tips, tricks for anybody else, something I didn't bring up, something I didn't mention, feel free to share it. But we appreciate you guys. Thanks again for watching Sanders Aquatics. Please like and subscribe.